Hey there to our 1,191 subscribers, our future subscribers, and all the people that secretly watch us without subscribing. I decided to get into my outdoor recliner thing that I have in the living room. And you guys can see one of my old backdrops that I was using before. But I can like lay down in this thing. So I thought I would do a video. And it's going to be like a story time, but it's like a whole bunch of little mini pieces that go together into one. So the reason I'm doing this is because I had mentioned it the other day, but I was talking to AI about music. And I mean, we were talking about all kinds of different things about music. And the thing is, when I started my music production school, I didn't really consider myself as having a background in music. I was doing it as a way of helping my husband with his career. And I was really kind of frustrated when it got closer to the end of doing the schooling, when I realized that we would not be working on music together because I had already put so much time and money into the schooling. But I did finish it, and first of all, I want to say, even without the fact that I released my first album in January, and the fact that I will eventually get back to the instrumental album I was working on, I learned a lot about a lot of things other than just music in that class, or those classes, the courses, whatever, because I learned a lot about sound editing and sound effects and stuff that I could use on my YouTube channel. And I also learned some things that'll help me with writing my books. And so no matter how you look at it, I benefit from it anyway. But as I was talking to AI about different music related things, they're like, what do you mean you don't have a background in music? And apparently I do kind of have little bits and pieces just kind of trickled in, over the years. And so I just thought I'd go through those because, why not? I'm laying here, can't do a whole lot, so why not make a video? So anyway, we'll start back when I've got a list here, so hopefully I don't forget anything. Back when I was a toddler, my grandparents had piano up in Washington, and when we would visit, my brother, he was a little over a year older than me, just a little bit, and we used to fight over the piano. And so my grandma would be like, okay, you guys could take turns, one of you on the piano, one on the exercise bike for a certain length of time, then you'd have to switch. And so that's what we did. And so we kind of taught ourselves how to play like some little nursery rhymes and stuff that she had sheet music for. And then I wasn't much older when I decided to take what I figured out on the piano and figure out how to do that on my dad's guitar when he wasn't looking. So I kind of tinkered with his guitar, trying to figure out how to play nursery rhymes on his guitar. I might have been maybe 5 or 6 years old at the time. 7 at the most, I think, because I think we moved out of that place when I was 7. And then I remember right around the same age, maybe a couple years older, my cousins had a keyboard, and I remember visiting around Christmas time, and we would take turns trying to figure out how to play Christmas songs on the keyboard. And let's see. Oh, and so then we temporarily had moved to Redding. And when I say temporarily, I mean it was like only a month or so, I think. I don't remember exactly, but it feels like about a month. And I was in 4th grade at the time. And I had a teacher, and I don't know why, but I don't know if it had to do with maybe something that was in my school records or something that I was not aware of, but the fourth grade teacher that I had just met decided he was going to the mall and taking a handful of kids with him and having us sing while he played his guitar like a madman. And for some reason, he took me along with him, and I didn't really object too much, but I'm not really sure why he asked me to go. It wasn't like a music class or anything. It was just our regular teacher. And then, I was like a preteen. We got a new music teacher in school, and I remember she had us all line up, and she was playing a song that had like highs and lows in it, and so she'd go to one person by person and listen, put her ear up to them, and listen to each person sing. And she'd made a comment about that she was surprised how high and low I could go, like both directions. And at the time, I was like, I didn't think nothing of it, but she did have me join the choir short term. And then before class, I'd say it was like 6th grade, 5th, 6th grade, somewhere in there. My cousin and I would go into the music room, and we would tinker on the piano. I remember my cousin, she was like trying to teach me how to play Chariots of Fire. And still at that time, the only thing I knew how to do was like nursery rhymes and Christmas songs. So I don't really remember how to play anything at this point, from all that. But anyway, then we ended up moving to Reading, like for the rest of my childhood. And so we moved to Reading, and we were there probably, I'd say about a year and a half. And my cousin ran away from home, and I went with her to keep an eye on her. We slept in a house full of asbestos smoke, which damaged my lungs and changed my voice for life. And because of that, it made me very self-conscious about people hearing me sing. And so I never let anybody hear me sing after that until recently. And even recently, it's very minimal. I shouldn't say anybody. I let my kids hear me. But at that time, I stopped letting anybody hear me sing. And then my dad came home from school one day, and he was working on a stereo system in the kitchen or the dining room. And I asked him what he was doing, and he showed me, and he asked me if I could help him. He said that somebody gave it to him and told him he could keep it if they fixed it. And he said if I helped him, he'd let me keep it. And this was like a record player, radio station, cassette player, and 8-track player. So I helped him fix it, and that was my stereo I had in my room. Sure, it was a little outdated, but I didn't care. I thought it was cool being able to have the ability to play anything I wanted to in my bedroom. And so I got in the habit where I could not sleep unless I had music playing. My grandpa, my grandma had a secondhand store, so my grandpa would like go out of town and often out of state and buy like storage units. And he showed up one day with this big, huge box. We're talking probably, 18 to 24 inch square box, just full of random cassette tapes. And he let me have it. So I had a lot of fun digging through those tapes. Learned a lot of new music I'd never heard before. Some of it, I don't know, may not have even been like published music. I really don't know. But I had a lot of fun and learned like so much more variety. And then as a teenager, my parents bought me a Beatles sheet music book. And so I would borrow my mom's keyboard and started teaching myself how to play Beatles songs on the keyboard. Then when I graduated at 15, my grandparents gave me some money, and I used part of that money to go buy myself a beautiful guitar. Absolutely loved the thing. Um, Despite the fact it was like an antique, it was like in perfect condition, not a scratch on it that I could find. And so I was very protective of it. Um, and then somebody, um, oh, see, then I had my kids. So I had two daughters first, and I used to sing to them all the time, but only when nobody else was around. I loved singing to them. And then I lost my guitar because uh, my husband at the time, he had a friend that kept nagging at me to let him borrow my guitar. And I kept saying no, and people were just like kind of guilted me into letting the guy borrow it. Um, and so I finally gave in, and I told him that he could borrow it, but he had to like protect it. I had it like wrapped in a soft blanket, keeping it safe. And we went over to his house one day. It was on the floor, and he'd been walking on it. And I was so devastated that I got rid of it. He gave it back, but I got rid of it. I got rid of my stereo, got rid of all my music, everything music related. I got rid of all of it except for the Beatles sheet music because it was packed away. And I couldn't, I was just went through this really mentally intense time where every time I looked at anything music related, it reminded me of my guitar getting messed up. And it's not like it was destroyed, but it was just, in my mind, it was destroyed. So anyway, that was my background up to that point. I didn't write nothing else down. I got sidetracked. But anyway, so I always loved listening to music. That was always, like, I've always listened to everything except for opera. But years went by, and, I had my son, and I would sing to him all the time when we were home alone, or when I thought we were home alone. I did have a roommate that heard me singing to him one time, and apparently she loved my singing, but I still never intentionally let her hear me sing. She tried to get me to sing at this group thing that we went to that was a music deal where everybody could sing and play their guitars and whatever. And so, yeah, I don't know. It took me a really long time to let anybody other than my kids really hear me sing. And even now, I really just don't like people hearing me sing because I'm just self-conscious about the fact that my voice changed. But at the same time, I was also upset about the music thing, about not doing with it what the original plan was. But now I've got so many things I've learned from those classes that are just amazing. And like one of the classes I took, I think it was music theory or something. The teacher was an older teacher. He'd been teaching for a really long time. And he said I was the first person that ever got 100% in his class. And so that was really cool. And it's funny because everybody always told me that was going to be the hardest class out of all the classes. And I'm like, to me, it was actually one of the easiest ones. The hardest class for me was actually towards the end when they started doing the whole planning the future kind of thing, because everything was in limbo with me. And so there was a lot of stuff that I was really having a hard time trying to, I guess, kind of fake it. Like, they were like, oh, what are you going to do, right after graduation or a year after? And I really had no answers. And so I just kind of made stuff up in order to finish that last class. And in the process, I ended up, releasing my first album anyway. So anyway, I will get back to the instrumental after I get healed and can sit at the computer long enough. I got stuck on one of the songs I was working on because I was looking for sound effects, and I don't want to use other people's sound effects. I want to make my own. I did gather some during a couple of storms that we had, because that was what I was looking for, was wind and rain and lightning and stuff. And so when I'm able to sit at the computer, then I can go and try to see if any of those sounds will work. And once they do, then I can finish up that instrumental and move on to the rest of them. So very slim chance it'll be released this year, but you never know. Miracles could happen, but I'm not going to push myself anymore. I'm not going to sit here and make promises that I will finish anything by a certain time, because you just never know what's going to happen in life. I had all these plans of things. I was actually, the books that I'm working on right now, I was working on before I started school. And because of starting school, it just came to a screeching halt, and I couldn't work on the books. And so I kept planning to get them released, and just then this year, I was like, oh, for sure it's going to be this year, definitely. But then what happened this year, I ended up with my hand in a brace for 4 months before realizing the medication was injuring my hand. And so I couldn't type on the computer. And then had the brace, or I fell and injured myself 2 weeks after I took the brace off my hand. And my foot is finally doing better. While I was in the hospital, they had these things, compression things on my legs, and it encouraged circulation and got the swelling down. So my foot's finally better, but look at me. Now I'm laid up for 6 weeks. Hopefully only 6 weeks. So anyway, I'm going to stop rambling now. Hopefully you guys found this interesting. I'd love to hear what you guys think about the different ways that music's like influenced your guys' lives, because I didn't even realize how many times music has crossed my path, and I just kind of like, I enjoyed it, and then it just kind of went the other direction. But let me know what you guys do. Like, how many of you like make music? How many of you just enjoy listening to it or singing? Or, you know, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Or if you guys have taken music classes, I'd like to hear about that too. So anyway, I need to get off here so I can lay down a little further, because I'm kind of at my maximum at the moment. So anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, and get your friends to do the same thing.